What is happening, you guys? Welcome back to the Let's Go Win podcast. You're in for a treat today. I have a gentleman that is smart, he's funny, and he's pretty darn successful as well. Jeff Wright is the CEO and president of Agent Sales Group, growing his business from a one-man operation from home to a network of 20,000 plus agents with life insurance sales of over 25 million of new annual premium every year. His greatest pleasure comes from helping others succeed, which is why his firm provides products, sales training, and lead marketing services to the entire life insurance industry. Jeff, what is happening, my brother?
Not much, brother. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Well, it is truly my pleasure. I had the pleasure of being on your show, and you're just a fun, easy guy to talk to. We go down some fun paths, and I'm sure we'll get there as well. But I got to starting from truly, this is a business that maybe it wasn't out of your garage, but it was certainly from your home to 20,000. That's remarkable in itself. I guess the layup question, and maybe this isn't the layup, how do you do that, man? That's tremendous growth. I'm sure there were some hard times, some amazing, gratifying times, and all in between, but how are you able to accomplish that? That's really amazing.
Well, there were definitely some hard times, I can tell you that. But it's a mindset of say for example, if you go to Las Vegas and you're playing roulette and you're throwing down $5 chips, it's just as easy to pick up $100 chip as it is a $5 chip. They weigh the same. And so one of the ways that we became associated with all these agents was simply the fact that, by and large, when we started promoting our services, we weren't really giving them to agents per se. We were giving them to groups of agents. So instead of hunting rabbits, we were hunting elephants. And which is good, because I actually have a very small staff in my office, and people will ask me all the time, how do you manage something like that with so few people? And the reason is because there's only a few people we actually talk to. We deal with the heads of these organizations, because if we had to deal with all these people all the time, I'd have to have a 30,000 square foot building to do it out of. Now we do it all out of the cloud, all remote, and with very few people. So it works, but it's just a mindset of what is it you want to be? Do you want to deal with rabbits, or do you want to deal with elephants? Because it's just as easy. Actually, dealing with elephants is easier than dealing with rabbits. You can catch an elephant a lot faster than you can catch a rabbit.
Well, I guess a follow-up would be, did you start with rabbits and then it turned to elephants? When did you figure out the roulette idea of $5, $100 and say, you know what, did you start with rabbits? I guess is the easy question I'll start with.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I started with rabbits initially. We started doing business with individual agents. But the thing is, though, I had gone to several conferences, and this is one thing, I really believe you get whatever it is that you project. I'm a big believer in that. So when I would go to these conferences and I would see and meet the heads of these big organizations and whatnot, I'm like, these guys are just like me. And these guys are actually easier for me to talk to than to deal with these individual guys, because I came from this purely from a business background, not a sales background. A lot of people, a lot of insurance agents, totally came up through a sales background. And at the time, I didn't really relate to that. I could relate to it far better in dealing with the people that they work for. So, not going to lie, JM, it's one of those deals, right place, right time. I had, several new markets opened up. I was starting to forge relationships to where I could get some exclusivity on some products. And yeah, it was, we had some really great products, and instead of going to try to recruit individual agents, I just went to the people that already had them. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And I want to
Yeah.
follow up with that, because one of the things you said is relationships, but you also said you get what you project. And
Yeah.
I want to talk about this relationship building. We'll talk about sales. Look, that's one thing with when you think of life insurance, most people immediately think of sales. Now, this happens to be my background, so I can talk a lot about it, but I want to dive in on the relationship side of things. So you get what you project. When you're walking into this conference room, to this boardroom, to this, networking event, what are you trying to project, brother? What is it that you, and maybe it's not an intention, maybe it's just what you do. Because again, I look at 0 or 1 to 20,000, that's a good leap. So you're obviously projecting something that's completely attractive. And maybe it's what I'm seeing right now, which is just
it's your mindset, JM, in that even when it was just me and 5 guys, okay, I ran my company as if I had all those agents. I spoke the language as if I had that. And when you do that, you start believing that. You start believing that you really do have that. It's just like, I always wanted to buy a Porsche. And I would go to Porsche dealerships all the time, crawl. It's amazing they didn't call the cops on me every time I went in there, because every time I'd go in there, I would look at every car, and I pictured in my mind what car I wanted, all the way down to what the stitching in the seats looked like, what the color of the car looked like, the interiors, everything. And I acted in my mind as if I already had it 5 years before I could even afford one. Now own 2. But if you have that mindset of, and that's the thing, is it's true of setting any kind of goal. It's much easier to achieve a goal if you really know in detail what that goal is. Like a lot of people are hiring people now, and they get really frustrated with the kind of people that they get, because they're, oh, they should be able to do this, they should be able to do that. Well, my question to them is, are you asking them or laying down what the expectations are? Because until you know what the expectations are of other people and yourself, it's going to be pretty damn hard to get what you want if you don't clearly define what it is that you want. That's true in business. It's true in a relationship. It's true in anything. And I always say, if I were to go to the Tampa airport and want to fly to New York City, I would get on a plane going to New York City. I wouldn't just get on any plane just hoping they were going to drop me off. You have to know where it is that you're going, because that makes knowing what you want, and the more excruciating detail you have of what you want, makes it a hell of a lot easier to get.
Yeah, this is what you're talking about, or at least the way it's hitting me, is I talk about the reticular activating system, and the fact that I know exactly, let's talk about agents for a moment, or recruits, or people I want to surround myself with. Until I got extremely clear on exactly what those values were, you're just bringing spaghetti against a wall, and it's just a heartbeat. But when you get clear on, I want somebody that, let's say, is fun, has a ton of drive, and is competitive. When you get those 3 things, it doesn't matter the height or weight or male or female or race, creed, color, religion, none of that stuff matters. But if they have those 3 values, that's the person I'm looking for. Is that how granular you would get specific to the people? And then we'll talk about the goals, because I do like that as well. But is that how specific you would get, as in, I know exactly who I want coming through my door, I know exactly who I'm looking to attract?
It is not just in business, but really in any other kind of relationship that I have. And that is, you have to go to where these people are, which is really important. You truly are the product of the people that you hang out with. You're the product of the people that you talk to. I'll give you a great example. I have a group of buddies here that I fish with occasionally, maybe once a month. They're a lot of fun to hang out with, but most of these guys drink every day. They smoke weed every day. They fish every day. And their personal lives are a total shit show. Now, that's fun for me to do for one day, to hang out with them. But if I hung out with them and did all that every day, my life would look tremendously different than it does now. If you hang out with losers, you're going to end up being one. If you hang out with winners, you're going to end up being one of those too. So it's who you talk to, which is why having good mentors is so important. I am very, very, very fortunate. I have 3 mentors. One is a 4-star general. I have one in California who is extremely wealthy businessman. And then I have another mentor in New York who is just very accomplished individual. And not having a good mentor or having or being around people like that doesn't, like, I'll give you a good example. Whenever I have, excuse me, whenever I have dinner with General Eberhard, who is just a tremendous individual, the biggest thing that I take away from him would be just the way that he conducts himself, the way that and the things that he does, the way that he speaks, everything. I may not get very much business acumen from him, but I definitely walk away from that guy wanting to be a better person, wanting to be better at the things that I do, wanting to raise the expectations that I have for myself. A great example I think a lot of people watching would relate to would be watching Yellowstone. I don't know if you watch that or not.
Oh, I mean, I'm a Montana boy. It's a requirement to get that fix of seeing Montana. So yes, I do.
But, John Dutton, Kevin Costner's character in there, he displays enormous amount of acumen in what in everything he does, and the way that he conducts himself, and the way that he deals with people. And when you work at that level, even though he does some crazy stuff and has people killed or whatever, it commands enormous respect from the people that you're around. And, and at the end of the day, building the relationships that I've built in my business is really keeping my word and doing the things that I say that I'm going to do when I say I'm going to do them. And that sounds simple, JM, but that's rare these days, brother. That's rare these days.
Well, you're hitting the biggest hot button I have. Do what you say you're going to do is quite literally whenever I'm advising, guiding, coaching, it's rule number 1 to all the people I work with. I'm like, and it's the lesson I learned from my parents a long time ago. Look, do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
Simple rule. I want to ask you more on the mentor side. It's such a fascinating subject. And literally, of my 3rd book, which I'm writing currently, this is what I was just writing about. So this is a little selfish as well. But one of the things we rarely talk about is how to find that mentor, and how did you approach the gentleman in California, and I'm sorry, the other, I've forgotten the other one, but how did you approach these people to really engage in that mentor-mentee relationship? And the reason I ask is I've found a certain way to do it way more successful than other ways that I've tried. So I'm just curious how that all evolved for you.
Well, a lot of this came from the bit. Well, not all of it basically came through my business. You know, these people all are tied to my industry in one way or another. But you know, I think it's easier than ever now to find a mentor, even if it's not a one-on-one, because you have this miraculous thing called YouTube. And if there's someone that you admire and someone that you really like what they say, even though you probably may never meet this person, you can certainly listen to their podcasts. You can listen to them speak. You can read their books and whatnot. And so, you know, quite honestly, that is a legitimate one way of doing it. But the thing is that what I have also found is that particularly people that are self-employed, like you and I are, okay, when you go to people that are either at or above the level that you want to be, okay, you'd be amazed at how willing these people will be to help you if you only ask them. And I believe the reason why so many of them are so willing to be able to help you is because they were where you are right now. They understand, they get it. You know, I haven't spoken to one successful person that didn't have a hard time getting there. I have not spoken to one successful person who dealt with just a shit show of resistance from their families. Your family's the worst support group you could possibly have in most cases. It really is. You know, people that didn't, it's like when you tell people, you know, if you tell someone, for example, that you're going to go lose 50 pounds. And they're going to say, oh yeah, that's great. Good luck. But when you lose the 50 pounds, you're not really going to get those congratulations from them, from most people, because they have animosity against you because you actually went through on something that they don't have, that they didn't take the self fortitude to go through themselves. So, and the same with starting a business. If you're starting a business, nobody's going to be there to root for you in your family or your close network of friends. No one's going to be cheering when you succeed, but they're all going to be bad mouthing your ass when you fail. Oh, I told JM he couldn't do this. I knew this was a waste of time. I told him, and you know, and the thing is, you have to cut these toxic people out of your life. You absolutely have to. And the way that you do that is you know, just don't talk to them. Or if you do talk to them, if it's family, you be stern and strict and make your boundaries known. If someone in your family wants to tell you about some gossip or something like that, just say, hey, I don't participate in that. I don't do it. I don't want to hear it. And you do that enough times, they're going to get the message, and then they're not going to include you in those conversations, which is great. One of the best pieces of advice I could ever give anyone in building relationships, especially if it's multiple groups of people, is when you have someone come to you or call you and say, hey, don't tell JM I said this, but that's when you say, just stop right there. If it's something that I can't repeat, I don't want to hear it. I have enough shit going on in my life right now. I don't have the time or the capacity to keep a mental inventory of who I can tell what. I just can't do it. I don't have that capacity to do it. I would rather not know. Well, I think you think it's funny. Well, maybe it will be funny, but if it's something I can't repeat, I don't want to hear it. You do that enough times, you'll get excluded out of that talk too. It's a good way. It's a good way to eliminate toxicity.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things I'm hearing is how intentional you are. So going back to the buddies that you fish with, look, when my intention is to go out, catch some fish, catch a nice buzz, these are my guys. When I
Yeah.
am intentional about wanting to grow in business, get better, this is my group that I'm going to. Your boundaries and your intention is so clear, is what I'm hearing. Is that just something that you learned through the school of hard knocks? Was it certain books that you read? How have you figured that out? Because this piece of advice you're giving right now, setting expectations, setting boundaries, being intentional, these are really core pillars of success. So is it these mentors that you learned it from? Was it from books? Is it just kind of the, a general, it all came together because they're really simple yet key tenets of success?
It came from almost losing everything.
All right, let's talk about that.
Yeah, it came from almost losing everything. I was in a business in my mid-20s. I had not gotten into the insurance business. I was doing something else. And I was listening to the wrong people, even though my gut told me that what I was doing wasn't really great to do. It was one of these deals, JM. I was desperately trying to fit in.
Hmm.
And when it came time where I almost lost my wife, I almost lost my business, I almost lost my house. And when I went to the people that I was trying to impress, the people that I was seeking their approval, they were nowhere to be found. They were absolutely nowhere to be found. And so it was a bad spot. I'm not going to lie. I almost lost everything. And I went to my father, and I asked my father for help. And I had it was like a perfect storm. I had anything that could have went wrong. I went to him, and I told him what was going on. My father was a very hard man, and it was probably the most understandingly listening conversation that I probably have ever had with him. And I thought he would start yelling and screaming, but he didn't. He says, "Yeah, that's bad. Yeah, that's bad." He says, "Well, I'm going to help you, son." I said, "Thank you." He says, "Don't thank me yet." He says, "You know what I'm going to do?" I said, "What?" He says, "Not a fucking thing." He says, "You were big enough to get in this. You're big enough to get out of it." And that's when I got that's when it hit me. No one is going to pull me out of this hole. I've got to pull it out of I got to pull myself out. If I don't, I'm going to stay in the hole. I'm going to get buried. That's when my mindset changed totally.
And what's so interesting, and again, I'm speaking to myself as much as I'm speaking to the entire audience. When you're going through the negative, the hard times of life, they're always the greatest learning experiences.
They really are.
So it is a funny idea, but shouldn't we just thank these people, these shitheads that do this? It's actually a thank you. You should actually, because you grow every time. Now it sucks in the moment. I get it. I'm personally going through a couple things right now that they suck. But the truth is I need to say thank you because I'm alive. I'm able to do it. My question to you, brother, is how do you stay, because you've talked about mindset a couple times, because the people that aren't going to be there, the wrong characters, the people that you thought were going to be your friends, how do you not become a cynical asshole in thinking I can't trust anybody? because it's clearly not what you've done. But I see when people get burned, they're like, they turn down that negative route and they're just like, I'm not going to trust anybody. Kind of like the scorned male or female that have been burned in a relationship. I'm not going to trust anybody anymore. How do you stay away from that, brother? Because I think this is really important.
Well, like Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. You at the end of the day, you have to trust people. You have to. You really don't have a choice. If you get on that airplane going to New York, you gotta trust that the pilot knows what the hell he's doing. So you've got to do that. The thing is that the number one thing you have to do, or what I had to do, I had to forgive everybody. I had to forgive everybody that had wronged me, the people that weren't there for me. You know, my dad used to beat the living shit out of me when I was a kid. You know, I loved him. You know, but you know, back, he spent 20 years drinking a quart of liquor every day. You know, and he wasn't particularly a happy drunk. But you know, he stopped drinking, and you know, he went from being an asshole to being like Ward Cleaver. He really did. But you know, you have to forgive the people, not for their sake, but for yours. I mean, I had to forgive people that I had to forgive people that had already died. But the biggest person you have to forgive, JM, is yourself. Okay. Now, it's okay to feel afraid. It's okay to feel mistrustful. It's okay to feel that way, but it's not okay to make yourself feel bad about it. Okay. So you have to forgive yourself for one thing. And the other thing is you have to express gratitude every single day for everything, good or bad. Because, you know, there has not been one problem that I have had in life that blessings did not come from. Not one single problem have I ever had. If I'm going through a problem now, the only way I can look at it is, you know, I want to get this problem solved, for one thing, but the other thing too is I'm not really going to get upset about it. Yeah, I can get frustrated with it. Of course, that's just natural, but it's being thankful for the problem and knowing that there will be a blessing come from it, because I really can't think of any problem that I didn't get some sort of benefit from. And so I guess that's a long way of saying is that when you're entrusting people, particularly in your business, you have to exert trust. You have to trust people, but you also have to understand that no one is going to run your business exactly like you are. No one is. And for people that are in business that are absolute control freaks, they have a hard time hanging on to people. They have a hard time with a lot of things because they're trying to expect other people to do things exactly as they would do it. And that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. So you raise your expectations enough to people to where you get there, you know, 95% of the time, but you'll never get there 100% of the time. It's just knowing and understanding that. And a lot of people have problems getting there. And oftentimes it's to their detriment that they don't get there. You just have to have that understanding.
Well, and I'm hearing the leadership part of you come through in that. And I'm looking back at this 25 million of new annual premium, which for folks not real familiar with life insurance, that's a lot of premium. And what I'm hearing is the empowerment that you allow everyone around you to have, in that you empower others to flourish, to thrive, it doesn't have to be Jeff's way. It's just the way. It's a way to accomplish the goal. Is that kind of a fundamental principle for you, brother? Because again, I'm looking at the numbers and I'm going, that's a hell of a lot of premium. And yet he's talking about lack of control. He's talking about trusting these other people. So I have to imagine that empowering others is just a huge part of your everyday leadership that you bring to the table.
Well, it is. I mean, there's not a lot of individual agents that I talk to, but there are a few. A lot of the ones that that I see that are really producing lots of premium, or people that have big aspirations to do it. I take a handful of them and I work with them one-on-one. And I'm very proud to say that I have, last year I had, I want to say 15 people make in excess of 7 figures. Probably 25 or 30 that made in excess of mid 6 figures. Okay. And I can tell you a lot of the guys making 7 figures, or people, because there are some women in there. A lot of those people, when I met them, a lot of these people, really and truly should probably be living in a homeless shelter because a lot of them had a lot of problems. And a lot of that too is, I'll give you a great example. I have a group of leaders. When I met them, they had nothing. They were broke, but I saw that desire in them. And I started exposing them to the better things in life. I told them, hey, and I tell a lot of people this: when you fly somewhere, fly first class. Even if you can't afford it, do it. Because once you get used to that, you're going to have a hell of a hard time walking past those seats to go sit at the back of the bus. You're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that you can keep that lifestyle up. So a lot of that is just, is from the mentoring that I do with them, but also a lot of it was, one-on-one, taking these people on trips, taking them out to really nice dinners and whatnot. I took a couple of people out to dinner who had never had wine with a dinner in a restaurant ever. And I bought an $800 bottle of Opus One. And for me, that's something that I would never do on my own. But I really wanted them to do that just so they could see what was possible out there. It's the same thing with the visualization of me in the cars, and the guy who mentored me. The guy who mentored me in the insurance business initially lived on Sanibel Island in Florida. At the time I was living in Atlanta, it was like a 12-hour drive down there. Lived in this big, beautiful house on the intercoastal outside, on the water. And he's sitting out on his back porch, smoking cigarettes and doing business and looking at the water. And I don't smoke cigarettes, but when I saw how he was doing that, I went, God, this is what I want to do. This is the life I want to live. And that's what I do now. I work primarily out of my house, and I'm staring at the Gulf of Mexico while I'm doing it.
Are you smoking cigarettes?
No, I don't smoke cigarettes. I never could pick that up.
No,
thank God.
One of the things that I continue to hear, and as I'm looking back at your bio, helping others succeed it was a huge thing for you. But there's a word, and it's believe. You believed in these people, just like you believed in I'm going to get this Porsche, just like you believe I'm going to fly first class. Law of attraction, manifest destination, all these things, but it circled around that word belief, in my opinion. That's how I'm hearing it. And that's kind of the feeling that resonates. And I remember the same thing. Guys that didn't hardly have a checking account that are now making 300 grand a year.
Yes.
there's nothing more fulfilling. It's not the zero on your account that matters. I swear to you guys. And I know it sounds cliche, but I'm telling you what Jeff is saying is so important. It's watching someone else achieve something they didn't think was possible. It's addictive as any drug out there. It is just one of these things. And what a cool thing you get to do every day. Brother, I want to just ask you, because we haven't even talked about sales, although you do a hell of a lot of sales, or your company does. You do some sales training. Give me some of your top three. This is what I wish all salespeople would do, or what I really wish people would stop doing in sales. The success and maybe the non-success, what you've seen, so we can help some folks out hitting those 7 figures as you've helped others.
You know, I heard one time, I don't know if this is true or not, but the motivational industry, multi-billion-dollar industry. At the time I heard this, the biggest purchaser of motivational services was actually the military, which is understandable. These people, you're going to go to war, they're scared. They're understandable. The second is the sales industry. And why is that? Because they're scared. And the reason why a lot of what I work with the most is the mindset of self-belief. Okay. There is such a lack of self-esteem in people these days. And I think that's only getting worse, JM. It's not getting better. I think it's only getting worse. People are, given labels, and they're told this and they're told that, about, politics, religion, whatever. And they just come out of that just naturally believing it. And it's only true if they believe it. If they don't believe it, then it's not true. So it's believing in yourself, because one of the things that I would tell salespeople is that you cannot expect someone to have confidence in you if you don't have confidence in yourself. And confidence is such a huge part of sales, because when a lot of people, when they're trying to make a buying decision for insurance, a car, a house, whatever, their fear is letting go of their money and what's going to happen after that. They're fearful. They're not confident in what they want. It's your job to be confident for them. That is your job, to be confident for them. The other thing in sales too, that I think is so important, is that there are so many people that go out there, so many salespeople out there that just spout off how great they are, how great their product is, what a difference it's going to make in their life and all that stuff. They just gloss over all this stuff, making statements, and they never ask any questions other than, well, what do you think? Do you want to buy it? That sort of thing. When you give a sales presentation, or when you have a sales conversation with someone, 85 to 90% should be you asking questions to them. I train people not to be salespeople, but to be help people. Because oftentimes people will have problems that they don't even know that they have. And it's only by asking questions that you can help them uncover what those problems are. When I was doing personal production eons ago, I never went in and told them what the product would do, what it wouldn't do. I went and found out what their needs were. I went in there honestly trying to help them. I didn't care if I got a sale or not. I really didn't. I acted as if I didn't care if I got their money or not. And I really didn't. because I wanted first and foremost to help them. There's a whole lot more money, JM, in helping people than it is selling them. Nobody likes to be sold. Everyone likes to be helped.
I have a course literally called "No One Likes to Be Sold." I freaking love what you just said. Literally, the entire course is called "No One Likes to Be Sold." Brother, you've covered so much: sales, relationships, mindset, primarily, which I'm absolutely obsessed with. I just want to give you an open forum here. Anything I didn't ask you that you're like, I gotta let the audience know this before we wrap up. Anything on your mind that you want to make sure to share?
One of the things that I talk about the most in the sales trainings that we do with the agents and with other people, because I've worked with attorneys, I've worked with real estate people, I've worked with people from all kinds of ends of the sales spectrum. Okay. At the end of the day, people say, well, I don't want to be in sales. Well, you are in sales. Everyone is. And if you don't believe me, God forbid, get in a car wreck, go to the hospital screaming in pain, wanting morphine. Trust me, brother, you're selling. Everything is selling. And one of the biggest things that, in fact, I just wrote a blog on this, is using the power of the word no. If you ask someone a question designed to get a yes feels like it's pressured. Like everyone is expecting someone to ask them to say yes. I'll give you a great example. If you had done a sales presentation and whatnot, how many times have you listened to some car salesman tell you all this stuff, and then they say, well, is there something else that we can do to earn your business today, or some cheesy shit like that? Are you ready to sign the paperwork today? And you feel, I mean, even me saying that to you, I feel the pressure in there to say yes. You can ask any question. You can rephrase any question to get a no answer, and the no is far more powerful. So, JM, would you be against moving forward on this?
No, I
No.
reason.
No. And so when you say that no, or when you have them say no, that no comes from safety and certainty. Nobody has any problem saying no. Nobody has any problem being given the opportunity to say no. And so try it. It works anywhere. Try it at Starbucks. If there's something, I don't go to Starbucks, but if there's something you want, instead of saying, hey, can I get this? Say, hey, would it be any trouble to get me this? And not only will you get it faster, but you'll get it in a far more friendlier manner, because they're gonna think that you're really considering how they feel and what their feelings are. And so it applies to everything. I'll give you one more great example. One of the biggest complaints I hear from people is, especially guys that are married, saying they'll ask their wife, do you want to go out to dinner tonight? Well, I don't know if I want to go, la, 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 la. Instead, say, sweetheart, would you be against going to dinner tonight? No. Now my wife really doesn't like Mexican food. I did this with her the other day. She really doesn't, Mexican food. So I love it. She's not a big fan. I haven't had it in a long time. I said, honey, would you be against having Mexican tonight? No.
I love it, because you're assuming the sale. That it's called assume the sale, but he gets the no, and it's brilliant. By the way, it's not even a tactic. It's letting them have the choice.
That's right.
To say, yes, I am against it, but people are not confrontational that way. I love what you just covered.
Having one no is worth 1,000 yeses. So good.
Brother, again, you're just an interesting guy. We didn't even talk about Willy Wonka behind you or any of that, but
Willie.
Wonka that looks like Abe Lincoln to me a little bit. But brother, you just you've done so many cool things. I love what we covered today with the mindset, and you clearly have so much to offer. Where can people reach out to you, connect with you, learn more about what you're doing? Maybe they want to be one of those 15 that hit 7 figures last year. How can they find you, brother?
I have a website, therealjeffwright.com. You can follow me on Instagram at therealjeffwright. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, everywhere. But those, I don't remember what our Facebook and LinkedIn, what those handles are. It is my name and something, but it is Instagram. It is at the real Jeff Wright, and my website is therealjeffwright.com. And give me a follow. We post stuff every day, and people can reach out if they want any help or advice. I'm always here to help and happy to.
Awesome, brother. Well, I appreciate you being here, man. You were awesome.
Thanks for having me.
You're an easy conversation. You're a lot of fun. And I just really appreciate you being here, brother. It was awesome.
Hey, thanks, man.
I mean, look, guys, if you're in sales, you got a gold at that last 5 minutes. If you're just building a business, just the mindset piece that he talked about is so impactful. There's so many good things. Share this with other people. This is a absolutely powerful podcast that I just was able to host, and I'm so pleased to do it. Share it with others. And remember, until next time, your mindset matters. We'll talk to you guys then. Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.